Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulih al-kareem ma ba'd. Inshallah, today we'll be reciting the 29th juz, all the surahs except the last one. That one, inshallah, we will do tomorrow, along with part of the 30th juz. The first surah is Surah Al-Mulk. Today's basically setup is that every 2 rak'ah we will do one surah. That's why we have one surah left. Because the 29th juz is probably the longest juz. Average, every juz is about 20 pages. This one I think is 23 or 25 or 24, around there. So we're going to, in the first 2 rak'ah we're going to do Surah Mulk. After that we'll do Surah Qalam, then we'll do Surah Haqqa, so on and so forth. Surah Mulk is one of these surahs that we have to, every believer must have in their arsenal. We discussed throughout the month, we've been discussing the different surahs that every believer should memorize. Like for example, we talked about Yasin, we talked about Surah Al-Kahf, we talked about Surah Al-Waqiyah. Similarly, Surah Al-Mulk is one of those, because the Prophet ﷺ told us of that surah in the Quran that has 30 verses, that will be a protector in the grave. And that is this surah, Surah Al-Mulk. It has 30 verses, and there are many narrations indicating towards the fact that this surah will be a protector in the grave for whoever recites it every night. So, if we have it in our arsenal, if we have it memorized, then inshallah it will be very easy. On the way back home from Maghrib or Isha, we recite it. By the time we're home, it's done. And inshallah, if we were to die, we will be protected in the grave. This is Surah Al-Mulk. We'll just go through a few verses from Surah Al-Qalam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us of the people of the garden. When talking to the Quraysh and the pagans of Makkah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Inna balawnahum kama balawna ashab al-jannah." That we tested them just how we tested the people of the garden. Now, according to Abdullah ibn Arbaaz radiallahu anhu, who were the people of the garden? There was this family that owned a garden, or a farm, you could say, like 6 miles out from Yemen. And the father was a God-fearing man, and he, out of his harvest, what he would do is, he would always leave some grains for the poor people, and from his orchard, he would always leave some fruits for the poor people. When he passed away, his 3 sons, they inherited the garden and the farm and all the lands. And they thought that 2 of them thought that, their dad is a foolish man. He's like, we could be making so much more profit, we could be making so much more money. He's giving away too much. He leaves the grains for the poor people, and it had become well known. And because of this, the poor people, they would gather around this garden, and they would gather around the crops every morning, or every time it was time to harvest. They would come because they knew that they would get something. So when he passed away, the sons, they made a plan. They made a plan that, we need to do something about this. Too much profit is being wasted. Too much of the wealth is being given away. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes mention of these people in the Surah Al-Qalam, which we'll be going through in the 3rd and 4th rak'ah. He says, إِذْ أَقْسَمُوا لَيَصْرِمُنَّهَا مُصْبِحِينَ وَلَا يَسْتَثْنُونَ فَطَافَ عَلَيْهَا طَائِفٌ مِّن رَبِّكَ وَهُمْ نَائِمُونَ. That what they did was they made a plan. They said, the poor people, they knew that we have to come in the morning. So what they decided was, we're going to go early morning. We're going to go really early, and we're going to, harvest, and we're going to take all the crops and everything, and then we're going to leave before the poor people come. And then وَلَا يَسْتَثْنُونَ, they didn't say inshallah, they didn't make any exception for the poor people, any of that, and this is what their plan was. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَطَافَ عَلَيْهَا طَائِفٌ مِّن رَبِّكَ وَهُمْ نَائِمُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He whirled, a wind, or some narrations mention a fire around this, and destroyed the whole crop. Everything was destroyed. When they woke up, فَأَصْبَحَتْ كَالصَّرِيمِ, and it became like a land that was already harvested. فَتَنَادَوْا مُصْبِحِينَ أَنِ اغْدُوا عَلَى حَرْثِكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ صَارِمِينَ. When they woke up in the morning, they quietly nudged one another and said, let's go. We're gonna go and take the crops, and we're gonna go and get everything before the poor people come. When they walked, they said, when they got there, فَلَمَّا رَأَوْهَا قَالُوا إِنَّا لَضَالُّونَ. They walked and they went to the area. They said, I think we got lost. I think we passed it, or we missed it. And then they look around and they see, no, this is the location. This is where it is. You look around, all the signs are, this is where it is. But when they realized that it's gone, they said, بَلْ نَحْنُ مَحْرُومُونَ. Rather, we're deprived. We lost. We missed out. قَالَ أَوْسَطُهُمْ أَلَمْ أَقُلْ لَكُمْ لَوْلَا تُسَبِّحُونَ. So the middle brother, he was the one who, was also like his father. He feared Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he knew that this sadaqah, this giving to the poor, and this spending in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to decrease anything, right? And logically we think that when we're spending, it's decreasing our money. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's system is completely different. We don't understand it. It's not based on logic. It's not that you take $100 now, instead of 1,000 you have 900. You take $100 for the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He multiplies it by thousands, not even just hundreds or ones or twos. So He tells them that the middle brother, he says that I told you guys to do the tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't worry about this stuff. Then they start blaming each other, and they start fighting, and then they realize that there's no one to blame. Mufassirin mention over here that many times when something goes wrong, the first thing we do is we start blaming one another. Something happens, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault, right? And then we come up with different excuses instead of looking at ourselves. It reminds us of the incident of Sulaiman alayhi salam, once again, which I mentioned in the 19th juz. That when he saw that the bird was missing, he didn't say, oh, who lost the bird? Or where did the bird go? Or what's the bird's problem? He said, what is it with me? What happened to me that I cannot see the bird? So similarly over here, the Mufassirin are reminding us of the same concept, that we have to look at ourselves whenever there is something happening. We have to look into ourselves and see, what are we doing wrong? Another point that the Mufassirin mentioned that's very important for us to realize is the middle brother, even though he had the good intention, and he feared Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he also lost his part of the crops and the orchard. Why? Because many times, even if we are not, our opinion or our feeling is something different, but if we act along with the people around us that are doing wrong, then we are also liable, and we'll also be questioned for that. So even just having the intention wasn't enough. He didn't take a stand. He didn't stand up for what was right. Rather, he went along with what was wrong. So many times this also applies to us, where when we are in a situation, it is very important that we stand up for the haqq. We stand up for the truth, and we stick to what we believe and what we understand is the truth. We don't just go along with whatever is happening, and from there, we think that we'll be safe. Even us, we will not be safe if we are going along with whatever is wrong, just because we understand inside that something is wrong. Right, so this is a reminder for us. And the Mufassirin mentioned that after all of this, they did tawbah, and because of their tawbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would bless them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed them with many more orchards and farms that were even more bountiful and full of crops and blessings, more than the one that they had originally. So this shows us as well one lesson along with the fact that of sadaqah, the other lesson is that when we do tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not like us where He holds on to grudges. He lets it go, He forgives us, and then He gives us even more. This is how merciful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open up our hearts to give for His sake. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cleanse our hearts from any types of disease, spiritual or physical. Ameen wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
رسول الله. هيا على الصلاة، هيا على الفلاح.